Hello po mga kababayan. So ibigay ko sa inyo yung arrival statement ng ating Pangulong Bongbong Marcos sa bisita niya, official visit niya sa Canada. At saka mamaya, ibigay ko din sa inyo yung naging reaksyon ng think tank ng Kamara de Representante, House of Representatives, sa magandang balita mula sa World Bank na naabot na natin yung upper middle income status, yung Pilipinas, na-achieve na natin yung upper middle income status na napakaganda mga kababayan para sa ating ekonomiya. Okay pa? So unahin ko muna itong statement ng ating Pangulo para updated po kayo mga kababayan sa mga magagandang kaganapan. Hindi po yung puro mga intriga at fake news na pinapakalat po ng mga DDS kasi bukas magsisimula na po yung impeachment trial ni Sara. Kaya overtime sila sa pagpakalat ng fake news, paninira. Gusto nilang lunurin yung mga magagandang kaganapan. Di ba? Huwag tayong papayag sa kanilang mga pambubudol. Ito ang ating Pangulo. Napakagwapo ng ating Pangulo at parang hindi siya napapagod.
Let me first read my post-visit statement on this official visit that we have just completed here in Canada. So, to our friends in the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I am pleased to report on the productive meetings that we have had with Canada's top government officials and key economic players during our stay here in Vancouver, British Columbia. Ushering in a new chapter in our ties with Canada, Prime Minister Carney and I announced the elevation of Philippine-Canada relations to a strategic partnership. This move, while reflective of the deep and strong bilateral relations that we have developed with Canada, also catalyzes our next steps towards the new phase of our relations in ensuring the sustained and dynamic growth of our bilateral ties. Mahaba na ang pagkakaibigan ng ating mga bansa at halos 1 milyong Pilipino na ang naninirahan dito sa Canada. Ngunit sa biyaheng ito, ating minarapat na paigtingin at isulong ang mga importanteng kaganapan sa ating pakikipag-ugnayan sa Canada sa larangan ng seguridad, kalakalan at komersyo at iba pa. I have tasked the Secretary of Foreign Affairs, Maria Teresa Lazaro, to work together with Canadian Foreign Minister Anita Anand to create a plan of action focusing on joint initiatives that will help both our countries adapt to shifting global realities, address shared challenges, and build capacities for future-ready partnerships. This takes into account current global and regional developments, including rapid changes in technology, as well as social and environmental challenges that bring together uncertainty and volatility, and that seems that will have an impact on the future of our two nations. Prime Minister Carney and I agreed on the strategic importance of the Indo-Pacific and the need for Canada's sustained engagement with the region. In support of Philippine interests and in line with our strategic location in the Indo-Pacific, we agreed to build on our shared regional priorities as we move forward. I spoke about the three main pillars of the Philippines' chairship of ASEAN this year: building prosperity corridors, strengthening peoples, and strengthening peace and security anchors, as well as our unified response to ensure energy and food security and the protection of our nationals in light of geopolitical changes. I reaffirmed the Philippines' commitment to work with Canada and ASEAN in concluding the negotiations for the regional ASEAN-Canada Free Trade Agreement this year. I also thank Prime Minister Carney for Canada's vocal and consistent support in upholding the rule of law in the South China Sea, particularly on the basis of UNCLOS and the 2016 Arbitral Award. I convey the hope that as we celebrate the 10th anniversary of the Arbitral Award, Canada will continue to be one of the leading voices in upholding the award as an unassailable part of the corpus of international law. I committed to work with the Prime Minister in standing against economic coercion, increasing our bilateral trade, and building resilient supply chains. On this last point, I thank Prime Minister Carney for the decision to participate in the Luzon Economic Corridor with an initial investment pledge of 2 million Canadian dollars to support infrastructure, the supply chain, and clean energy projects within the LEC. I witnessed with Prime Minister Carney the signing of the Joint Declaration of Intent on Energy and Natural Resources Cooperation. This underscores the importance of energy security, economic security, sustainable economic growth, and resilient supply chains in supporting economic prosperity and the global energy transition. I also met with top officials of Canada's key economic players. Some of them have been actively engaged already in the Philippines, and they employ thousands of workers. However, we still look forward to the eventual entry of more Canadian companies into the Philippines investment landscape. During the high-level roundtable meetings with leading Canadian companies and industry leaders, I underscored the Philippines' commitment to fostering a competitive, sustainable, and innovation-driven economy. The discussions focused on strengthening cooperation in mining, critical minerals, energy, the IT/BPM sector, key industries that will support the country's industrial transformation, digital economy, and long-term economic resilience. Conversations with the IT/BPM companies also focused on global artificial intelligence hubs and learning centers that will serve as centralized AI-driven facilities to upskill these companies' global workforce. Amidst the complex geopolitical uncertainties that continue to shape our global strategic partnerships, pursuing a deliberate strategy for trade diversification has become an economic imperative, especially with like-minded parties such as Canada. I highlighted the Philippines' strategic role as a trusted investment destination and reliable partner for Canadian businesses seeking to diversify operations and expand in the Indo-Pacific region. I also met with the B2 Gold Corporation, Oceana Gold Corporation, TELUS Corporation, and NQX to discuss their investment plans in our country. All these business engagements in the sectors of mining, critical minerals, energy, services, and IT/BPM resulted in a combined $2.5 billion in investment from Canadian partners. Thus, it is already timely that we presently are negotiating a free trade agreement with Canada, which we hope will further strengthen our economic cooperation once it enters into force. I am pleased with the deepening of our defense and security ties through our existing landmark agreements on defense and military cooperation, such as the status of visiting forces agreement and the mutual logistics support arrangement. These mechanisms translate our commitment to maintain a peaceful and stable region into practical and tangible actions. My delegation also met with our Canadian counterparts as we pursue new collaborations in certain niche areas, such as mining, critical minerals, nuclear energy, and in space. During my visit, we were also able to sign agreements that will harness the strength of our diaspora as the anchor of our bilateral relations, such as in culture and in the arts, tourism, labor, and migration. My last activity last night was a meeting with over 500 members of the Filipino community who came to Vancouver from different parts of Canada. And Canada is a very large country, and some of them came a very long way. I was heartened by their presence and the positive remarks of the Canadian government officials and ordinary Canadian citizens about the Philippines diaspora and how they are very glad and very happy to have the Filipinos that are here in Canada. Filipinos in Canada are widely respected and regarded as a steady and positive force in Canada's society. I convey to the Philippine community the Philippine government's continued support for overseas Filipinos and our appreciation for their continued hard work and dedication to their families and loved ones in the Philippines. Tunay na naging matagumpay ang ating biyahe kung saan napagsaayunan natin ang ilang mga inisyatibo sa hanay ng gobyerno at ng pribadong sektor. Hard work, though, does not end here. Patuloy tayong magsisikap upang ang ating nakamit at nasimulan sa Canada ay yayabong at madarama ng mas nakakaraming Pilipino. Maraming salamat. Thank you. Good morning.
So hindi po doon kasama yung mga walang modong Filipino na nambastos mga kababayan kay nang haras at nambastos kay Jose Castro. Hindi doon kasama sa na-mention ng ating Pangulo na proud yung mga Canadians. Kasi hindi po nakaka-proud ang mga DDS na bastos. O di ba, mga kababayan? Ilan lang naman yon. Sabi ng ibang mga netizens, dapat yun i-deport kasi kasiraan para sa atin po. Yung mga nambastos, mga kababayan, kay Jose Castro, kasiraan sa pagkatao ng ating mga mabubuting mga mamamayang Pilipino na hinahangaan ng mga Canadians. So hindi kasama doon yung mga magkasampo lang yata yon. Kukunti lang sila. Kasi nga po mga kababayan, kahit saan may mga masasamang tao. O di ba, mga kababayan? So ito i-share ko sa inyo yung naging pahayag din ng House think tank tungkol dito sa na-achieve ng ating bansa, Philippines Middle Income Status. Sabi dito, a product of years of sound economic policies, economic growth, mga kababayan. So sabi dito ng Congressional Policy and Budget Research Department ng Kamara, hindi po ito nangyari sa isang araw, isang taon. Ito po ay culmination of about 4 decades of trying to improve yung ating economic standing. Ginawa ng mga previous administration na ma-achieve ito pero hindi nangyari. Nangyari mga kababayan sa ating administrasyon ngayon. So sabi po ng economist na si Nobel Bangsal, siya po ang Executive Director ng Congressional Policy and Budget Research Department. The country's new classification niya should be seen as a major affirmation nitong long-term economic direction ng ating gobyerno. Even as government must continue working to make growth more inclusive, sabi po niya. Tama po, tayo ay umangat sa upper middle income country status nitong June 2026. So sabi niya, the country's improved status can help strengthen investor confidence, support the Philippines' credibility with development partners and open wider access to international financing. Because of this standing niya, since it has improved yung ating credibility sa international arena, we can be able to access more funds sa international capital markets. O di ba? Napakaganda nitong nangyari sa ating bansa ngayon. Pero siyempre, yung mga DDS, hindi man ito maintindihan. Basta sa kanila, Duterte ang pinakang magaling. Kahit wala man pong na-achieve na maganda sa ekonomiya ng ating bansa. Kahit po sa peace in order, basta Duterte lang. O, di ba? Sabi po ni Bangsal, dapat siguro tanggapin natin ang news na ito as upbeat. But siyempre, cautious din tayo, sabi niya. O, di ba? So, we have to treat this development with optimism and discipline since the new classification is a national indicator that must still be matched by improvements felt by households. So sabi po ni Bangsal, while the upgrade reflects a stronger national income, it does not automatically mean that poverty, inequality, or household welfare have already improved at the same time. Hindi po natin masasabi na dahil umangat po yung ating GNI per capita, masasabi po natin na meron po tayong pagbabago sa poverty o equity dimensions patungkol sa mga households. Ito po ay sukatan at the national average, isang way of measuring our economic performance. But of course, hindi po ito sukatan ng lahat, sabi po ni Bangsal. Kasi siyempre, hanapan kaagad ng resulta nito ng mga DDS. Marami pa rin anyang mahirap. Mahirap kasi kayo mag-isip. Pero kung maintindihan ninyo yung mindset ng mga matinong mag-isip, kaya nagiging maganda yung buhay, then magiging positive yung pananaw ninyo rito sa naging achievement ng ating bansa. Pero siyempre kayo, hindi ninyo ito ma-appreciate ng mga DDS. Ito'y isa kasing insulto sa inyo. Di ba? Masama ang inyong pakiramdam kasi nangyari ito na-achieve ng ating Pangulong Bongbong Marcos ng kanyang administrasyon. At sabi nga natin, wala ditong parte si Sara Duterte kasi hindi man siya nagtatrabaho. Wala siyang tulong dito. Wala siyang kredito. Di ba? Mga kababayan. O ngayon, balikan natin yung ating Pangulo sa kanyang press conference. Ayan po, mga kababayan.
Good morning po, Mr.
Good morning.
President. Sir, in your joint statements last day and also yesterday in front of the Filipino community, you mentioned that you conveyed your hope that Canada would continue to address the barriers for the recognition of the credentials of the Philippine-educated professional. May we know, sir, how was this received by the Prime Minister? Did he commit to anything with this regard?
The reason that we spoke about that is that there has been a change in the law here in Canada when it comes to the migration. To begin with, the quota for Filipino workers has been lessened, and but there are still areas of the new law that are unclear to us, and that's really what I say. Of course, it would be highly improper for me to suggest any changes in another country's law. All we were asking is that to make very clear and very transparent exactly what the rules are, so that the Filipinos here who are already in Canada know their status. We just want to make sure they have been here. Some of the Filipinos I met during the trip have been here 15 years, have been here at least 5 years, 10 years. And that the status of those who are already living and working here remains the same. And then for the future also, better understand the new regulations, the new laws, the new quotas, so that we in the Philippines are also able to adjust.
Thank you, Mr. President. The next question from Tristan Nodalo of Newswatch.
Good morning, Mr. President.
Good morning.
Sir, the West Philippine Sea in 2016 Arbitral Award were among the issues discussed during your meeting with Prime Minister Carney. Well, Canada has been one of the countries openly backing the arbitral ruling, but as the award marks its 10th anniversary, China continues to reject it, calling it null and void. But sabi po ng ilang mga observers, the Philippines missed a lot of opportunities during the previous administration in enforcing the award. So sa panahon nyo raw po, we are making up for lost time and under your watch. How concerned are you that a future administration could take a different approach and weaken the gains your government has made in terms of enforcing the arbitral award?
Well, of course, it's a very important issue for the Philippines. So if you're asking me if I'm worried that the policy of the Philippines will change after I leave office, of course I am. Because it's almost, not quite, but it's almost an existential issue for us. Because maybe not existential for ordinary Filipinos, but for the state of the Philippines, of the Philippine Republic. So We really have to be consistent in that. And I think the rightness in our positioning, in terms of the way we position the Philippines in our foreign policy vis-a-vis the arbitral award, is validated by countries like Canada who support it and see it as simply a enforcement of international law and the defense of our territorial integrity and the exercise of our sovereign rights within our sovereign territory. So it is a very enormous. There are no issues before any president that are greater than that. Some are equally important, but that is as important as anything else that we are having to deal with. Okay.
Thank you po. The next question from Bea of Rappler. Bea.
Yes, hello. Good morning, Mr. President. During your press conference with the Prime Minister, you spoke of the importance of keeping communication between partners very active, again, given disruption to the world order, to keep stability, even as we expand and deepen our relationships with countries like Canada. So, but I wonder, how do you make sense of Beijing's decision to impose sanctions on Secretary Chodoro, even as you are seeking to reset ties with China? And on a broader note, how would you describe the Philippine-U.S. relationship right now?
Okay. Well, the declaration of Beijing as Secretary Chodoro as a persona non grata, I guess, in China, it is just not. It's very unhelpful, in my view, because it really achieves very little. It's more a how do you say, a response to some of the things some of the pronouncements that he's made in a foreign fora. But it does not move the discussion between the Philippines and China regarding the conflicts that we have, the territorial conflicts that we have. It does not move that process forward in any way. It does not make it easier. It does not lessen the risk of a mistake that will, or some kind of skirmish that could grow into something more, or even in moving forward trying to resolve this issue. So it's just not helpful. And I guess, of course, it's China's prerogative to do whatever it is they please. But in the larger scheme of things, in my view, it raises the level of tension rather than lessens it, which is always what we want. And that's why we continue to have open lines of communications with Beijing, and we continue to look for as many lines of communications that we can have, both for government to government, on the commercial level, on the purely personal level. Everything that we can is being explored, and cutting off another line of communication, which is through our defense ministries. I do not see how it will help that process that we trying to achieve to manage the tensions in the West Philippine Sea, to lessen the likelihood of something happening that will be a trigger for something worse. It is, again, as I said, it's China's prerogative, but I really feel that it was unhelpful. On our relations with the United States, well, those really have not changed status since I came into office. We just keep growing stronger together. We keep supporting each other, and we have been strong partners for over 100 years. And in that time, our engagements with the United States have become deeper, have become more expansive. And now, with the new sectors that are being created by the new technologies, we have new areas even to explore. So, patuloy lang. It is as strong and it is as active as it has ever been, if not more so than before.
Thank you, Mr. President. The next question from
Di ba, mga kababayan, napakagaling salita yan ng ating Pangulong Bongbong Marcos at hindi siya palaway. Kahit inaaway tayo ng China, pati pinag-initan na si Defense Secretary Gibo Teodoro sa pag-defend sa ating territorial sovereignty and integrity, mga kababayan. Trabaho siya ng ating Defense Secretary, siyempre. Alangan man yung Defense Secretary natin ay ipamigay na yung ating territory tulad ng hindi nga Defense Secretary, mismong Presidente. Gawin na daw tayong province ng China. Kaya tuwang-tuwa si Xi Jinping. Masaya si Xi Jinping kay Digong. Pero ngayon na-deliver si Digong sa dahig, wala man pong inaalok na tulong si Xi Jinping. O, di ba, mga kababayan? Ngayon nang pumunta po si Digong sa Hong Kong, sabi, nag-apply sana ng asylum. Hindi nangyari, kaya bumalik na lang dito, ayun, na-deliver. Di ba, mga kababayan? So anyway, yun lang po ang mga developments na mga balita. Sa ngayon, ako po si Dante Maravillas. Bye-bye po. God bless.